privacy is not a right, it is a obligation. You have to enforce it yourself. Everything that is online can be hacked, can be accessed from remotely from some guy in North Korea, and money gone. Even if they have good arguments why they need that data, they store it piss poor and eventually they get hacked. This happens countless times, time and time again. If we start a war, there will be 3 people missing, like me and 2 soldiers looking for me.
How do we keep our Bitcoin safe, and why is it such a terrible idea to keep it on just paper or just somewhere online?
So online is definitely not the way to go, because everything that is online can be hacked, can be accessed from remotely from some guy in North Korea, and money gone. Paper is fantastic, is a quick offline backup. So I even, like, if you have like a phone wallet, I've seen many phone wallets that even allow you to copy paste the seed phrase out of there. And even that to me is already stretching it because the buffer, you don't want to save the seed words in the copy paste in the clipboard. Write it down on paper, you're good. That's what I do for phone wallets. If you have like a cold stack, like a cold storage that's your life savings are stored on, you can go the extra step then and go to a metal backup, where you then also can rest assured if it's like left outside or if it's like in your house and there's a house fire, that will survive, because basically like the seed is the only information that you have to recover everything. It's also the only information that nobody but you, unless you want to share it with your loved ones, should know about. And there's like a couple best practices that should be observed.
Like, because you said share it with your loved ones, I think you also have like a company called Satz Keeper, where you have the inheritances of Bitcoin saved. This is some topic that I actually personally did not touch a lot, because we're both really still young, so obviously you were further ahead and down that rabbit hole. But I did not do a lot of research on that.
Did you just call me old?
Hopefully not.
We are both very young people. we don't think about dying any minute now.
Yes, I mean that's it. Yeah, but you thought about that, obviously.
Yes.
Like, why did you do that? And what's the solution for that?
So the next logical step is, if you have generational wealth, which we all expect to eventually have if you've stacked hard enough, because it's the only scarce asset, and therefore wealth will accumulate if you have Bitcoin. You think about passing it along, and you have like kids, you have your wife or parents or whatever you want to take care of. You don't want to take those Bitcoin into the grave. As the German saying goes, that the last shirt doesn't have any pockets, or neither does it have wallets. And then you have to have a way to communicate to your loved ones from the afterlife how to access it, unless you have given them the secret beforehand. And with Satz Keeper, it's a company I have with Joe from Bitbox, and there we give you a guided backup solution where we never touch any of your keys. You're not giving us any of the keys, but you write down a will, a testament that is then encrypted locally. You can only create it entirely offline, and then we offer that. So that is free, and then we offer proof of life checks, and we also offer the option to help your relatives recover the Bitcoin in the event of your death. Again, without ever touching keys, we just offer to walk them through those steps, and we have the expertise to do that, because giving them the information is maybe the easy part. Having them recovered properly is not that trivial. So the best thing to do is in life talk to as many people as possible about Bitcoin, and then teach them how to do it, and maybe give them, I don't know what we have here, like I have a seed signer here, give them like a stateless signing device, and have them practice this, because we know how to do it. And maybe you remember the first time you like did it maybe with Electrum or like a phone wallet. This was entirely new, and you didn't know how to do it properly. And there are some points where you can get stuck. And so
how does this work? How does this work with proof of life?
So proof of life, there's different tiers. We can send you an email every 6 months, and if you don't respond, next step we figure out whether there's like a death certificate in your name in your community. We can call you. We can walk through these different steps that you can decide how much information you even want to give us, because you can do this entirely anonymously and then just set up a payment in Bitcoin and then have us send you emails. But if you want then the option that we check a death certificate before we give out the encrypted file to your predetermined heir, then we will have to have your name. But other than that, we try to have as little information as possible, but as much as is necessary to recover the funds. Because if the Bitcoin are lost, it's better for all of us, because then our Bitcoin in value will rise, because I don't know how many are lost already, but yeah.
But basically, as I understand it, right, you have an encrypted file, and this file can be sent then to the relatives that is right. They
Exactly. So
will get
we
the
have a
Bitcoin.
tool. You can download it, and then you can only is a guided process where we ask you the questions that you might miss if you make a backup. And then, where do you have Bitcoin stored? Where do you have your seed plates? Where do you have which exchange are you registered? Where's the secret for the 2FA key? Stuff. We run you through the steps, and then you encrypt it locally. You give the password to encrypt it, and that password you give to a relative or to an heir, a safety person, and then we can upload and store the encrypted file. And only in the event of your death, those two things will again, come back into contact
Okay,
to
so
unencrypt and then have the information where we'll find the backup.
so it's kind of a multi-sig where the person with the relatives with the password plus your encrypted file come together, and then you can walk them through how to recover the coins.
Yeah, yeah, essentially. So like, there's this concept of I think it's called toxin, where you have like a shared agreement, and the last person to survive will get the shared value. And in that case, you only leave your Bitcoin to the person, who is then nominated. That does not have to be the person who is in your written will, but might be a person that is capable of recovering the funds themselves and who you trust, but you don't trust with the keys during the lifetime. But in the end, then he will help your relatives, or can be directly the relatives, and then they have the option to also use our services to back up or recover.
Okay, now we have a Bitcoiner who is in self-custody, who has the inheritance set up, who has a Seedor where the backup is solid. And there are, I think, additional steps you can even do beyond that. And your Twitter handle is CoinJoin Chris. Beyond that and the whole KYC topic, what do you do more than that? Is CoinJoin something you recommend everybody doing it, or is it just like something for if you're really, really in the privacy fear?
So I remember, I think you were there as well at, was it in Riga, Baltic Honey Badger? I'm not sure. There was a fantastic talk by Rahim. And he essentially said privacy is not a right, it is a obligation. You have to enforce it yourself. It's not something that is freely given. And coin joining, so the act of a pay join where you have multiple transactions going in, multiple transactions going out of equal or same size, like depending what kind of use Wabi Sabi, or if you use Whirlpool, or there's many different ways to do a coin join. I'm not going to go into that. It's a very discussed topic, but in that way, you can assure that there are no common ownership heuristics of a transaction. So that if somebody, because we have like Bitcoin, it's not like Ethereum where you have an account. In Bitcoin, we have UTXOs, so individual Bitcoin, and those can be easily traced. And there's a bunch of companies that trace payments, and because everything is pseudonymous, as soon as you have like an on-ramp where you paid fiat currency at Kraken to get Bitcoin, and then you did like 5 transactions, those companies, when they find out, oh, somebody along this line did something illegal, funded terrorism or whatever, they try to figure out who this Bitcoin belonged to. And maybe you will get caught in the crossfire because their methodology is not sound and not peer-reviewed and not tested. However, it's so far has held up people in real court and in real prisons. And with a CoinJoin, you can make this transaction much more private. And I suggest everybody to have at least 2 sorts of stacks: a KYC stack where you stacked your Bitcoin on Pocket or Relay or 21 Bitcoin, where your name is associated with that because it's easy and usually get a better price. And then there's another stack where you have no KYC Bitcoin. And then in between, if you want to have it more anonymous or to have more privacy, you can have transactions in a whirlpool transaction where then in the end it is not possible to blame you for various transactions that may have happened along the line. And so I suggest everybody to look into that and see if that is something they're interested in, and they can always write me and I will give you good guidance. It's become really easy. It was not always that easy. There's some really well-developed app like Wasabi for desktop or Samurai Wallet for Android phones. And if you have your own node, you can use Join Markets. And it's a good way to enhance your privacy again, because I think it's an obligation. And if everybody does it, it's better. And
It's a really cool solution to have like both, because it's so easy to stack with the KYC exchanges, Bitcoin only exchanges. Like I completely went Bitcoin only exchanges. I think in 2 years ago I was on Bison. I don't know if you heard about that exchange before.
the
Because
Börse Stuttgart, it's a German.
And then they started with 2 things. They started with shitcoining more and more. Before they had like 4 or 5 coins, and I was like, okay. And then the Shiba Inu and everything came on there, and this was like, okay, that's not good, because then all of a sudden my phone was like, buy now Shiba Inu, and I'm like, why is that notification popping up? And then the second thing they did, they asked me really a lot of questions for like, where's the money coming from? What is that? Like, and I was like, I don't want to tell you. Like it's already a lot to give someone the information that I am this person and I'm buying Bitcoin. But then I have to tell them, oh, I got that money from there. This is my salary, stuff like that. And I'm like, this is none of your business, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I get the whole procedure. Like when we found a company and you go to the notary and all this stuff, and I'm happy to show them my ID, because you have to build trust with other people if you are like trading in an economy. And we can't go without like identifying ourselves. But my problem is like with all these exchanges and all these data krakens that collects unnecessary data, or even if they have good arguments why they need that data, they like they store it piss poor, and eventually they get hacked. Like this happens countless times, time and time again. And if you give them as little data as possible, you won't have to bear the consequences because they always get hacked. Like just now, Trezor, like 66,000 customer like information of people that own a Trezor hardware wallet is now out in the open. And I myself, like I'm in the ledger leaks from like 2017, and there's my old address and like a parcel station that I used and like a phone number, and you get calls. And try to limit the amount of information that you give people. And best practice, use single-use emails, stuff like that. But
I see a lot of Bitcoiners getting into that sphere, privacy and all the different topics you discover with Bitcoin when they discover actually Bitcoin. Was this also the case with you, or had you this privacy in mind and this self-sovereignty mindset already before Bitcoin, or was this something that actually developed with Bitcoin?
I think it went hand in hand. So like there was always a decent amount of distrust in everything. I was this annoying kid that usually like questioned everything to the chagrin of most of the teachers that I had. But yeah, when then Bitcoin came along, like I got into it, I have to admit, because of NGU number go up. I got very early. Somebody gifted me some, and I saw it rise, and I sold it immediately, and I thought, wow, look at me, Warren Buffett over here. And then along the line, like, oh wow, it's now at 1,000. Now it's at 3,000. You have to get back in, and you have to like FOMO into different coins. And like for the longest time, it was just about becoming financially independent. And now the more we push and move towards like a CBDC and all these things where a totally inept people that do not have the best of intentions, like governments, try to again collect more information about you, like with a central bank currency or like a card, everything digital. They want to get rid of cash. Like they will trace or try to trace or get really close into your business, and that drives me in even further into Bitcoin, because to me that is like the way to opt out of this bullshit. And yeah.
I had yesterday an podcast, and the guest said about CBDCs, like, and it's an interesting thought. He's like, this will fail so dramatically because who will get that? Like, who will adopt a Bitcoin CBDCs? There's only disadvantages in there. They have to pay me so much money to get this Bitcoin, to get this CBDCs in hand. And I'm like, people are doing a lot for not a lot. Like there are crazy incentive programs where like, oh, get this tax benefit, oh, get this small thing, like get a CBDC and then you get a free McDonald's burger or something like that. Like it's,
Get your
I don't know.
sausage. Yeah. I mean, have you seen the lines outside of like the World Coin, the orb?
Yeah,
Remember that?
that was crazy.
I don't know who you interviewed, but the guy said, "Oh no, nobody's gonna use that." Yeah, I mean, yeah. Imagine the average smart person, or like the average person, like 50% is dumber than that person. So there will be a lot of people. I mean, if it's just convenience, like I myself, I'm guilty of that. Like I pay with PayPal, I pay with an Amex, because oh, my Amex gives me like 1% in cashback, because it's this fiat game. Like the vendor pays like 3% and then I get 1% back. Why not use that? Of course, they do shady shit with my information, but and it's not sustainable, like this entire thing, in my opinion. But I use it because it's easier. Like I like the idea of cash. I like that nobody is in my business and knows what I pay for. Oh, but I hate like coins and change and like having this to carry this around. I love just leaving the house with a phone, like dude, pay.
I'm super excited to announce that this podcast got the first ever sponsor. 21 Bitcoin is Bitcoin only from day one, and they teach and preach self custody. This is my go to exchange when someone asks me, oh, where can I buy my Bitcoin from? This is the easiest entry for Bitcoiners. And if you want lower fees, plus at the same time support this podcast, use code Robin and click the link in the description.
Convenience.
Actually, like, and in Austria, I don't know how it's actually in Germany, but in Austria, you can even have your IDs on the phone. Like you don't have to carry anything. You have your IDs on the phone in the ID Austria app. And on the one hand, it's really convenient, again, because you don't have to have the wallet, you don't have to have the physical card, but then it's all stored in the phone, it's all stored online, but kind of stored anyways online somewhere. And also cash, it's like, I see it on Bitcoin meetups and Bitcoin conferences more. Like usually where I go is like most of them are just Apple Pay, and in Bitcoin circles, there's the cash a little bit more still there, but it's like cash will erode anyways. I don't think we can save cash anyways. It will go it will go down and down and down. You see the trends. COVID accelerated the whole thing. Like,
Yeah, I
and
mean, have you been to Sweden recently? Try paying with cash anywhere.
did they completely ban it, or what is
I mean, it's
the?
like all Visa. Like they there's nobody uses cash anymore. It's very easy to envision that. I think like Germany, and I have to hold it to my German people. we sleep on many trends, both because we're like distrustful, but also because we're like new technology scares us. Apparently, like the country of thinkers and engineers. Like at school, we still have like overhead projectors, and we don't have like Wi-Fi anywhere, and like our internet is pure garbage, and we still use fax machines. Like embarrassingly, a lot of fax machines. Like the entire printing industry, like just Germany. And so that's what keeps me asleep at night, that we are not moving that fast because our bureaucracy is so incompetent and too, yeah, it, they're not capable of like improving technology that quickly.
Yeah, I think the only cashless experience I had was in the Red Bull Salzburg arena, like the Red Bull Salzburg Football Club in Salzburg. There's no cash at all. Like you get a drink when you get back the cup, you get back your money on the card and not with coins. This was an interesting experience. It's completely convenient. The whole process is so much faster. But yeah, it's cash is dying anyways, and that's why we kind of need Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, I mean, not only for that, but just like if you ever done an international wire transfer, like you want to
Mm.
stick a fork in your eye. I buy and pay stuff, or like pay people in Canada and Australia. And if I like go to my credit union and say, can you please wire my money to this person? Like, don't expect it to happen in less than 3 days and with fewer than $50 in fees. Like, and you would
That's a lot
think
of
that with the
questions.
the advent of the internet would have made this like instant, but oh no, 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 there's so many banks in between that have to take a
Yeah.
cut, and it's ludicrous. Like I have people like in China where I manufacture like this it's a brass trolley token you put on your shopping cart,
Yeah.
and then you can release a shopping cart. Like the American people watching this won't know what that is, but in Germany we don't trust people with shopping carts. They could like run off with it. You have to put like €1 in, and then you get like a shopping cart, because that's enough for people not to steal it apparently. And this thing is like a brass coin, like with a Bitcoin and Seedor logo. And I had this manufactured in China. um, I asked the guy because he had various commemorative coins like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Monero coins there. And I thought, oh, yeah, he can do like a custom thing like this. Gave him the design. And then when he made me the offer in US dollars, I asked him, like, how about, taking Bitcoin? Despite during that time, like Bitcoin was definitely again banned for the 1500th time in China. He said, yeah, sure. And he gave me like a Bitfinex address, and I wired him on chain. And in 22 minutes, like he said, money received. And in 3 days, like he showed me like the CNC milled tool to emboss the coin. Like in that time, no wire transfer would have arrived in Guangzhou. Like no chance in hell. Like just to save the time, I paid a transaction fee. Like even today's transaction fees would be cheaper than like using ACH or Swift or like whatever kind of telegraphic transfer there is. And that to me is just like, we have a global economy. We have like the internet. Like why don't we have like a global like money that is accepted everywhere? Oh yeah, we have this, it's Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's still mind-boggling if you think about it. It's just database entries, and they need so long for those to clear. It's
Yeah, I
not even
mean,
final
the
settlement,
entire
because there is no final settlement in fiat, kind of.
yeah, I mean,
Uh,
it's just like you kick the can down the road and everything's credit. And if you think too long about it, you like, it's scary. But like with Bitcoin, it's so simple, it's so beautiful. Like you can send it to somebody and they can immediately verify, oh, that is legit Bitcoin that he sent me, and that Bitcoin is now mine. And he can only like charge back or like force me to, like I have to voluntarily give it back to him. Like it's like instantly settled. You send it like from one place to another. And like with Lightning or like all these developments now with like eCash, it just keeps getting better. And happy for it.
Another thing you are actually doing, and it is getting more and more recognition also, I think, in the global sphere. I think there was an article already in the Bitcoin magazine, I think a week ago, about TerraHash. I mean, what what is TerraHash for? Like most people are from, actually, I know 70% actually from people listening to that are actually coming from America. And I guess from America, a lot of people did not hear about TerraHash. I think maybe I'm wrong. What is TerraHash and like what are you doing there in Germany?
So TerraHash is the company to which I'm an advisor. Like my friend also Chris founded it in Germany, and it's like, in my opinion, the first German Bitcoin company. They do pioneer work where they educate people on mining. They invest in mining infrastructure. They talk to energy providers and building interesting turnkey concepts where we can integrate mining into all these different processes. Because like in Germany, like the hash rate price does not really allow for like just mining without making use of waste heat, making use of stranded energy. Like it's really, really tough. Like that's why most of the mining is being done in the United States. We have like demand response programs, and you have like hydro energy in Paraguay and stuff like that. And with TerraHash, um, yeah, we try to bring in know-how, bring in decision makers like companies, even politicians, to make Bitcoin first more palatable to like people, because it still has a very bad reputation. Yeah, there's a lot of really, really big things happening right now, to which I cannot. Like just yesterday, we had like a big meeting. I can't really disclose those, and I leave it to I think in Madeira there's going to be a big announcement at the end of the month, and yeah, so with TerraHash, my plan would be to have verifiable proof that Bitcoin is a net benefit for everybody, and to avoid that the German government, as they did with like AI, as they did with all this new technology, where they try to regulate it and ban it and shoot themselves inevitably in the foot, where you just point to all the benefits that there are, because there's a lot of FUD out there, and with an entity like that, you can dispel a lot of these myths. And there's a laboratory where we like do research on mining, and we have tons of visitors from like both local as well as from Berlin politicians, and a lot of things are moving there.
Do you see? I mean, we see a lot of things in Europe and Germany happening around regulations and having like. There's this saying: you cannot ban Bitcoin, but you can only ban yourself from Bitcoin, and I think it resonates with a lot of people. And I think we in Europe and Germany, also I think in Austria, we have this kind of thinking where we want to regulate everything. Every small step should be so regulated till it's almost dead. And this is why, like, if you look at the 20 most successful companies, they're all kind of in America. They're all the internet all happened in America, kind of. Do you see a chance where like Europe can be a Bitcoin region?
Absolutely, and like that's what we try to do to avoid doing what we missed out on the internet. Like we had all the plans in the 80s, oh, let's have fiber gigabit internet everywhere in every household, and then our chancellor back then was best buddies with a guy who owned like the biggest television news conglomerate, and he felt threatened by the internet. And then as soon as that guy got into office, like all those plans were scratched, and that's why there's like all these, like there's Silicon Valley. Like we would have those like people here, and we could have built companies of similar size. Like the biggest, I think, German-born enterprise is Shopify, and the guy like straight fucked off to Canada and built his business there.
I
Because
didn't
yeah,
even
we have
know that
like
this was a German guy.
come again.
I did not even know that it was a German that founded it. Interesting.
Yeah, Tobias Lütke, like he's from like 50 kilometers this direction, but yeah, he's a very successful founder, and there was not really like a startup scene in Germany or for like internet companies. Like we have like the SAP and like software companies, but like we slept on a lot of these really big potentials, and that's, I'm afraid that that might happen in Germany as well. or in Europe, if like underinformed or misled politicians make decisions based on poor researched articles from like Dutch national bankers or whatever, where they try to ban Bitcoin or classify it generally as environmentally unfriendly and all these things that the data does not support these things. And just you have the unique position now that you can become a hub, you can become like a pioneer and improve, or like Germany could become a Bitcoin state. I mean, it's definitely possible if you don't even have to support it. Just don't throw any stones in our way, and then in 10, 20 years it will look different.
Yeah, I think this is, I mean, the general sense with innovation, like just let it happen. Just don't throw stones in the way of innovation
You
and let it
can't stop
happen.
it.
You can just slow it down in your region, and this will benefit other regions, like we see in El Salvador. We see other nations that are adopting it, even like really close to us in Switzerland, in Lugano. I think there's a lot of things happening there. Switzerland is also interesting interesting case study, because a lot of the best adoptions are happening in countries that need Bitcoin the most, like Nigeria, El Salvador, and countries like that. Switzerland has
Turkey, like I
Turkey.
don't think Turkey, like they are always on the all-time high in Bitcoin price if you like use the Turkish lira.
Yeah,
Like so if you're not playing along in Germany, like if you try to regulate it to hell, then the talent will bleed away. They will just move. Like people will build their companies in the United States, and then you're not competitive. Like that's very simple, and I don't want to see that because I like
yeah,
it. Like a lot of people say, "Oh, we're just gonna move to El Salvador or whatever." Like I really
uh,
like it here. Like, I'm not gonna give like Europe up easily to like the incompetent. Like it's my
yeah. I think it's also something good to do, though, like not just like flee from the problem and trying to fix the problem. What interesting? What has to happen for you to actually move to El Salvador, some state like that? Like what does German politicians or European politicians have to do for you to say, okay, enough is enough. I cannot help those guys. I will leave now.
I mean, that's a very very easy answer to like I've thought about this in recent times a lot. Yeah, if we start a war, like there will be 3 people missing, like me and the 2 soldiers looking for me, because I'm not going to go into a meat grinder. Like they're gonna draft me. Yeah, you have to look for me in Vanuatu or somewhere, like someplace there. Like this entire concept of like going killing somebody is like very like
It's
anti-Bitcoin.
it's completely anti-Bitcoin, and I like the message also that Bitcoin defunds wars, and yeah, really really
I'm
cool.
not so. I don't entirely agree with that statement. Like, like I think Rusty Russell wrote about this too. Like, propaganda will always be there, and propaganda is what like causes wars in the first place. And like a gold standard or a Bitcoin standard has not prevented or hasn't demonstrated that it can prevent the war. It will be much more difficult, maybe, like to get the funding. You can't just make debt to build like equipment or like weapons. But yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think violence will be solved. Like Bitcoin does not fix everything.
yeah, definitely. I
Constantly.
think there's a lot of people that, like, for me, Bitcoin in the end of the day is just money. And it's maybe too simple of a statement, because money is so fundamental to our life. And if you have, as a government, not the possibility to just create endless money, you have to actually get it from the people that live in your jurisdictions. So, but you can still make it. But the
Yeah, you have
funding,
to convince them really hard, and then like the yeah edged propaganda, like that will be next level. Like they will 1984 levels where they just like point everything else as the enemy, and then you might have like another war where people like say, oh, let's go, here's my Bitcoin, build some bombs. But yeah, it will be much more difficult, I agree.
yeah. Maybe as a last question before we come to our end routine, you're doing so much in the Bitcoin sphere with different companies, with trying to make Germany a better Bitcoin place. Why, at the end of the day, are you so passionate about Bitcoin? Is there something that like drives you extremely, that you like have this drive?
So I've had a lot of really like passionate projects, hobbies where I like dove in and had focused all my like attention on, and then those faded away. And I mean, there's some other hobbies that I to this day have like a really focused passion, but Bitcoin stands out at that regard. That like for like better part of a decade, I really like it, and I like it more the more I learn about it. And I try to be skeptical of most things, and I always look from like different angles and try to disprove the thesis that Bitcoin is actually this beautiful thing, this money. And it's not that we are just the ghost drivers on the wrong side of the highway. And it has not happened, and it didn't succeed in finding like a chink in the armor, like something that disproves this thesis. And that's so fascinating about it. Something like this obsession that is good and like it's sort of like the ikigai, where like I have a company that now is very like successful, and I have this drive to make like Bitcoin better and to make more people aware of Bitcoin, and all these things like they fulfill me. I get paid for it, and it's a benefit for society, and that's what like Bitcoin is essentially for me.
That's a beautiful point to end the podcast. We're having an end routine where the previous guest asked the question for the next guest. And he asked, like, would it be possible to have Seedor as gold? Like have your seed stamped on gold?
I mean, technically, yes. I would not recommend it. Like gold also like melts, and it's very malleable and soft. And it will be like expensive. You could use that money to stack some sets. Like stainless steel is very good at the job. Gold is a shiny rock, and like just yesterday I checked, like Bitcoin price was one Bitcoin 21.4 ounces of gold. Like, no, gold is there to explain boomers Bitcoin.
That is, that is a great statement. Never heard that one.
It's
But
not
it's true.
original. I read it on my 5 hours of Twitter a day somewhere. Like it's not, I did not come up with it. But yeah, it always works. Like, why do I need Bitcoin? You know, like gold. How it's a good story. They get it immediately.
Yeah, I think my father also got gold, but he got Bitcoin not. And when somebody gets Bitcoin, then it's easier to explain to them, like if they actually get gold. Like some just buy it because they think, oh, it has a great history and stuff like that. But if someone actually gets the properties of gold and why gold succeeded in the history, then it's an easier switch for them to Bitcoin. But then there are examples like Peter Schiff, but yeah, that's another topic.
So he was your previous guest.
No, no.
No.
Peter Schiff would be an interesting guest, yeah. But yeah, I don't know if I even want him. Where can people contact you the best? Where can people find you the best if they want to get in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean, find us on Twitter. Like my business partner and I, we manage the Seedor_IO Twitter account. Myself, I'm at CoinJoin. You can write me on Telegram. You can write an email. Like I am very online. You can reach me. And so the people nearest and dearest to me, they're sick and tired of me talking about Bitcoin. So I'm always looking out for people who want to talk about Bitcoin with me. So I'm happy to chat.
That's kind of my origin story from the podcast. Yeah, thank you for being on, Chris.
Thank you for having me.